Dieter and Hutch back with you in spirit, perhaps not in mind. Jake might be dead. I'm just throwing that out there. I see him. He's nodding. There's nothing behind those eyes right now. He's dying on
This
this
is
draft guide for you. For you. He's dying for you.
this is an AI version of myself that I previously recorded to execute draft content.
It was pretty
Jake's body
convincing.
is alive and well.
When we're all in the green goop, Jake will know exactly what that feels like well beforehand. Wanted to do some quick 49ers news, in which there's not much 49ers news today. We'll do a mock draft at the end of the show because at this point, why not? I mean, that's kind of where we're at. The draft guide will be available for subscribers, SICKOS, official SICKOS, to the channel on Monday. That's the 14th.
That's right.
And my God, Jake has done a number on this thing. We're very excited to let the people see it. And we will have another video giving you a bit of a preview on what it entails.
And if you don't buy it, that's your prerogative. But just know it will cut me deep to my core, and it might cause me to break. So again,
That's right.
your choice, your choice.
Your choice.
Well,
Just
my
know.
pitch just keeps going up. It's your choice.
It's your choice. I'm not broken at all. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Just a balloon leaking air is what I have in my head.
I'm raising two children, working two jobs, and this, and yet somehow I'm the one more in shape and better equipped than Jake. And honestly,
Right.
once you see this draft guide, you're going to understand exactly why. Let's stop dicking around. Let's talk a little NFL draft, and let's talk top 30 visits. So, Jake, the Niners have had some teams in. They are one of those teams that does not smokescreen this sort of a thing. So these are the guys that they like, and
Although,
I'm not going to lie.
Ricky Pearsall, though, I don't believe was a 30 visit for him last year. So, like, it's not,
okay.
To be clear,
it's
it's not
negative
like
smokescreen.
Right. Well, it's not always, but like they're definitely interested if they're having a 30 visit.
Yes, unquestionably. Let's also make it clear that we're not going to get all 30. We're this is off of reporting. The people that report this, we trust their reporting on this, but there is a chain of custody when it comes to information like this that lends itself to maybe some bad info getting out every once in a while. It's not to say anything about the reporters. It's merely to say that this is not like I was at the building today and saw this person walk in the way I did with Alan Smiley each on draft night in 2018. It's neither here nor there. They just got Dr. Draft Pick for that. You're welcome. So defensive line, I just want to run through these names real quick with you, Jake, and let me know if any of these names pop out. Walter Nolan, who we both love, Michael Williams, who a little hint for you, it's something deeper than love that we have
horrifyingly high on.
We are sky high. Shamar Stewart, who we could not be lower on. Omar Norman Lott, who we both like but don't like enough to make public. Like he's almost like a guilty pleasure.
I mean, you made it public in your mock draft.
I know he's like a guilty pleasure player. That's how I describe
it. Part of it's Tennessee and their weird rotations, and he like wasn't playing that much. But you're like, but he's so good. What's going on here?
Well, he just doesn't move, which seems counterintuitive to playing a professional sport. But like when he gets his feet set. Oh, no, I'm not arguing. I think he's better in the pass rush than he gets credit for. I'm just saying that when he sets his feet and decides I'm holding this gap, the gap be held.
Right.
He is holding the door. Tyleik Williams. Okay, we'll talk about Tyleik Williams some other time because there's a lot to get into there.
Yeah.
Mike Green, I would bring him in too because you need to look that gentleman in the face and have some conversations.
Yep.
Landon Jackson, if nothing else, he will be of viral fame forever. I like Landon Jackson more than you. Here's a name that I'm a little bit surprised to see in the secondary. Quincy Riley from Louisville, somebody that I had noted a couple of times, I believe at the Shrine game, if I'm remembering correctly. Might not be. It's been a long time since the Shrine game. I liked the Louisville corner at the Shrine game. It might be Quincy Riley. It might not be. Hasn't really bumped back on the radar yet. So Quincy Riley was not a guy who's in my top 150, but the Niners seem to like him plenty to at least talk to him in person.
I was watching him today, just genuinely for the first time, just finishing out my cornerbacks. Short spark notes on him, long not easily baited, turn and run zone corner who kind of knows where his help is. So,
Mhm.
makes plenty of sense.
Sounds right to me. And then two other guys who, listen, you want to talk about a 1-2 punch. This would be a great wrestling tag team in Kobe Bryant and Andrew Makuba. Those are
Yeah.
two guys who, do they have the requisite athletic traits to be in the NFL? Probably not. Will they fight you in the parking lot? You bet your ass they will.
Right. These are guys that are basically my weight, but who have no fear whatsoever, and are ready to die out on the football field. And we love them. So,
We love them. They're knife fighters, and you need knife fighters on your football team. Tight ends, two I like, one I hate. Same for
sure.
you. Jalen Connors. We're both big on Jalen Connors. You're higher on him than I am, but Jalen
He's
Connors
my
is
third
one of your
tight end.
favorites. Yeah.
So,
No,
Harold
so
Fannin, we talked
I
about
can't
him in
do it.
past
I can't
videos.
do it.
I get
Jackson
it.
Hawes is a solid blocking tight end possibility for the 6th or 7th round. I think
Yeah.
Jackson Hawes is a very viable pick for them.
He's a guy who, like, just stands in the right spot. I weirdly liked him receiving more than I did blocking.
Yes,
There's
I
a little
noted
bit
that.
of wiggle, and it's like I think it's just you need to get him angry or something. I don't know.
Mm.
There's something there. There's something there. 5th round, he's a very viable option.
I like him in the block game, particularly in the run block game, because if he's low, if he has his pad level right, like he's
Yeah.
effectively an offensive lineman.
Yep.
Which, hey, Georgia Tech, Brent Key, that's kind of what they do there. I know it's not going back to the triple option or whatever, but they run the goddamn football. Kyle Williams, secret's out. Secret's been out for a while. Kyle Williams, we're like, hey, who is this random person like 3 months ago? And now everyone's like, oh yeah, Kyle Williams, he's the guy.
He's like a 4th round wide receiver that probably someone's just gonna spaz out and take him in like the second. You're gonna go, what? What's going on
Yeah.
here?
And then Kelvin Banks and Miles Frazier, two players that I don't think I've ever mocked to the Niners in even
No,
my
I
private
do
time.
like Miles Frazier a lot.
Do you prefer Miles Frazier or Emory Jones?
I would say Miles Frazier, though Emory Jones is tricky because he's a tackle who's probably more of a
He's a guard.
right. I know. He played tackle, but you have to do the projection to guard. I would probably say Frazier, although I think Jones has a lot to like. He's like a more of a developmental guy. Like you see flashes and then you see horrific flashes. Um, So, there's some to like with him because he's large and, he's got active hands. But I don't know about his athleticism. He's a little clunky, Emory Jones is. Whereas, I know what Miles Frazier is. I know he's a great athlete and I know he can play guard day one. I'm not sure, for Emory Jones.
That's fair enough. I'm a little bit surprised at the offensive line list, seeing as it's such a vital position for them that these are the two guys that at least the names have gotten out on. Because
Smoke
not
screens,
not for me.
smoke screens.
I suppose so. I mean, I wouldn't be smoke screening anything. They've told the entire league that they're all in on this draft. I would not be
Right.
trying to do any spy games with my top 30 visits. I'd be trying to maximize my time with this draft class because you have to get these things right.
Real quick about this draft class, Dieter. How do you feel about it?
Um, I called it the worst draft class since 2015 in a recent column, and I stand by that.
I can't possibly go through and grade every single draft, but it's the fact that wasn't immediately like, "Oh no,"
Yeah.
I did some really really galaxy brained math the other day where I tried to like
Yes. Thank you for letting me in on that. Ruin
weight
my day.
position value and using franchise tags and
Yeah.
the scarcity of positions and what their value is. And the conclusion I came to is it's a C. It's a 77 out of a possible 100 draft class, which is not good, is not a great one to bet your jobs on. And the 49ers are doing that.
Um, I do want to make something clear here as we pivot over to Brock Purdy. Um, let's just be very forthright and transparent. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan do not get another quarterback. Full stop. They don't get one. They're lucky they got this one. So I do think that's something to keep in mind as we get deeper and deeper into the bowels of Brock Purdy contract negotiation. And we are deep in the bowels, my friends.
I don't
I
like it
think
there.
no, no, well, it's a turbulent place to be. Uh, I could push it further, but I want to stay
Please
monetized.
don't.
Um, Regardless, I get the sense that if it was Kyle and John's true decision, if they actually had the purse that they could go out and go and buy anybody that they wanted, one, they wouldn't have done what they did in this offseason in free agency, in that they would have actually signed some players, not just their own, but others. But the budget is the budget, and about $150 million needs to be put aside in cash for any Brock Purdy contract, because 80% of the guaranteed money has to be in an escrow account to adhere to a rule put in by the NFL owners, not even in the CBA. It's by the owners. Regardless, if you look at where the Niners are at in terms of cash spend, about 150 less than they were last year. It's funny how that works out, Jake. The budget's the budget, and it bends for nobody when Jed York is in charge.
Isn't it awesome that Jed is going, yeah, we want to pay Brock everything, getting like the
Actively
credit,
sabotaging himself.
getting the credit from like fans that he's maintained that he wants to pay him, and then realistically behind the scenes, he's like, well, we're gonna get the right deal here, folks, because I don't know why I gave him a Wisconsin accent, but
Listen here, folks. I think we're going to go out there and have a great time. We're going to get him some curds. No, I'll say this: Jed York is clearly not part of these negotiations because he's not very good at this. Take this from someone who's terrible at negotiations. I see a lot of myself in Jed York right now. This is Parag's game. He has unleashed Parag back onto the 49ers front office, and Parag has his models and his
I'm
opinion.
sorry, I'm just thinking of the worst podcast all time where it's like Parag
Parag
unleashed.
unleashed. Well, he might also be unleashed here in the not too distant future. There might be a lot of people off the leash in the not too distant future with this football team. Can't fire an owner though. Don't know who told me that. All this to say, we're in the nitty gritty of it. We're in the bowels of it. If I want to go back to that analogy, like, you really should have your quarterback under contract. You've already wasted free agency by not having him under contract. You will have a rookie mini camp on the back end of this draft. And you're going to have some legitimate OTAs coming up, and not all of them are important, and not all of them Brock needs to be there for. But we go to Joel Corey, who a former NFL agent. I've always liked Joel Corey's stuff. This is on 49ers web zone. And by the way, shouts to SB Nation's Niners Nation for the top 30 list back there.
By the way, Joel Corey, one of the few guys that really, I actually think most people are earnest. Like, the over the cap guys are great. Joel Corey's great. Yeah. Some people are very protective and pretentious about contract information. Joel Corey's a great guy. Just like breaks it down, is not pretentious, gives you the reality of like how these contracts work. Just appreciate his work.
I've had Joel Corey on the KMBR show a couple of times. I will say, kind of a tough interview. A little dry.
Contract stuff's tough.
That was my mistake, not Joel Corey's. It was just like, hey, Joel Corey, let's talk contracts. Oh no, what have I asked for? So
you're getting the answers, but it's not.
Oh no, he did his part. I did not foresee the level of detail. You could just hear radios across the Bay Area turning off, and those are the radios that weren't turned off when they originally heard my voice. Regardless, we go through this. This is Joel Corey's take. Lynch already saying that April 22nd, and there was a bit of an OTAs then. April 22nd is going to be off the board, and by all accounts, Brock would be silly, not stupid, silly, to show up without a new contract to anything, including training camp, or at least the beginning of training camp. So there's then phase 2 of the offseason program, which that's not that big of a deal if you miss that, right? The issue comes on what we got here, Joel Corey, CBS Sports, May 27th. Okay, so you're looking for a deadline. You're looking for a date that this thing should be done. That, hey, we're in the official dicking around stage. If we are past May 27th, we are in the official dicking around stage, because that is phase 3 of off-season workouts. Quote, 10 days of organized team activities that start where 11-on-11 drills are permitted. Those are the ones that you're going to want your starting quarterback for.
And something to note here is Lynch has said probably 1 million times that deadlines tend to solve things. So that's a deadline, right? And again, he says deadlines because the way these things work is there are different deadlines throughout where it's like, all right, that's a date, that's a date. Okay, if it doesn't work, that's the next deadline. And so what happens is once that passes, there's like a lot of often these negotiations go quiet. They sort of take a
Yes.
pause, which is not how it should work. But I
No.
think it's like, when you're like if you're in college and you got a test coming up, you're like, I'm gonna procrastinate a little bit, test not for another few days,
Don't know
and then
anything
it
about
sneaks
that,
up
Jay.
on you. Go, oh, I should probably study for this thing the night
Hmm.
before. It's a little bit how this works. I think it's human nature. It's not the best way to do business, but that's kind of how this stuff plays out sometimes.
Nobody would ever shoot the basketball if there weren't sidelines and a shot clock. They would just play to win 2-0.
Right.
It's we literally saw it in the you need parameters, you need guidelines,
John
and
Morant would shoot.
having John Morant, which all he does is shoot, baby. Did you hear his explanation for his
No, but
legitimately
I would
kind of
love to know what it was.
okay? So not with the shotgun celebration or whatever, but he did one against the Timberwolves. They lost handedly, giving the Warriors control of the playoff seedings again. Regardless, he did one which clearly was ripped off of some travel baseball team, where he launched a grenade and then he put his hands over his ears. Which, to be fair, pretty badass celebration. Like not bad. I mean,
I wait,
very
you know
like
what?
50.
That's from a manager, I think, in the minors getting thrown out years ago, where he took a
Yes, that's
rosin
right.
bag.
That's right. So John Morant's explanation for that, and I got to cop to it. This could be terrible misinformation. I saw it on Instagram, which we all know is a reputable news source these days. But it was that's me throwing away all the haters talking and then covering my ears. And it's like, you know what, sir? Well played. That's some good malicious compliance right there
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
from an unbrilliant man.
I saw somebody I saw, a TikTok of somebody imitating Ja, and it's just like he's like dropping nukes. Like he's just taking it to the next level. He's like going to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You're like, Ja, you have
There
to
you go.
stop.
Please, please, Ja, please. Memphis is the worst possible. I have an hour of material on this. We'll do it some other
I
time.
know.
Okay, so May 27th, that is phase 3 of the offseason workouts, still voluntary, as you can see from this screen when you were no longer listening to our John Morant takes. Um, May 27th, that's 11 on 11 voluntary offseason workouts. You'd sure like to have your quarterback there. Wouldn't be a shock if he wasn't there because, again, voluntary. Now we get into mandatory. June 10th and 11th is mandatory minicamp. Now we got an issue. If we get to June 10th and 11th, I don't think anyone would be thinking, oh, everything's A-OK to begin with, right? It would be 6 months of this nonsense on top of whatever we predicted beforehand. But yeah, June 10th and 11th, if he's not there, one, he can be fined. And two, you have a big old problem because now training camp becomes your deadline. And clearly he doesn't give a damn about being fined. And they're probably going to have to wipe out the fines no matter what happens. So,
Right.
um, all this to say, the Niners better figure out what it is they're willing to do and what it is they're not willing to do and create some sort of parameters for when these negotiations can happen up until. Because if Brock Purdy wants to hold out, that needs to be established well before day one of training camp or day one of these mandatory mini camps. Like you're telling us, hey, you're doing that, but like we're not opening the
Right.
contract negotiations again. And letting the NFL calendar sort of guide these negotiations, I think, is a foolproof is a guarantee for them to drag out in a negative way for San Francisco because I still maintain Brock Purdy has all the leverage.
Yeah, it's extremely on brand for them, right? They love to do this. They love to make these things as painful as possible to get the number, and that's their whole thing. It's been their whole
Yeah.
thing for forever, right? Is they pay their top players, they get it done, and they drag it out. But every player who's gone through this has been like, yeah, it's pretty awful. It's not a fun time. It's exhausting, and usually the net result is, not good for anyone else. So,
It's
you know,
cutting off your nose to spite your face. I mean, it's you're going to overpay this guy by their standards every time, right? They're not winning. They're not winning these contract negotiations. The ones that they win are the ones where the player's coming to them being like, I'd sure like a new deal.
yeah,
But the ones where the player needs a new deal, where it's like, there's deadlines and things like that. What are the contracts they've won? They won the Diamador Lenore contract. Diamador Lenore just got done midseason. They're just one day they just hammered it out. and they gave
The
him
first Dre Greenlaw contract was a good one.
totally, but it was that didn't have like a deadline on it. There was no
Right. The
fuss.
second
That
tier
was
deals get done quickly and quietly.
well, here's a second year deal that's tier deal that's not getting done quickly and quietly. And I guess it serves to logic that the biggest deal in the history of the 49ers might prove to be the most painful deal in the history of the
Who would have
49ers.
thought? Who would have
Well,
thought?
they might save $3 million total because they completely sabotaged their offseason. Why not? Let's
Worth
try to
it.
save. I guess. I mean, it might be to Jed. Let's try to save their offseason right here and now. And let's head over to sticktothemodel.com. It's a new little draft simulator that came recommended from some folks on Reddit. We're going to give it a try because
Let's
why the
do it.
hell not at this point? We're going to do, let's just do the Raiders 7 rounds. Good luck with that, Jake. And no, 7 round 2025 NFL draft, San Francisco 49ers. We're going to keep it, we're going to speed it up a little bit. I don't need to see what the hell's happening with everybody else. Let's call it a 4 on speed. I presume out of 5. Could be 6. We're going to find out the hard way. Randomness at a 2. Let's just get into it. I see no reason to mess around. Okay, you ready?
Yep. Let's let it rip.
Okay, we're going to start this draft. Tennessee at number 1 is going, oh, yeah, it's all off the board. Okay, so here we are. Well, and this is an interesting thing. I will come back to the draft here and give everyone a recap of where we're at. Ward 1, Hunter 2, Sanders 3, Membu 4, Graham 5, Genty 6, Campbell 7, Carter 8, Jalen Walker, who is getting a lot of connection to the Saints lately, at 9, and Kelvin Banks at 10.
I could actually completely see it playing out like this.
Extremely fair mock draft simulation right there. Nothing too crazy. I don't know if I agree with it, but that's different strokes for different folks. This seems very bog standard. So let's take a look at who's available for the San Francisco 49ers and Team Dieter and Jake. McMillan.
Dieter, I wonder who you would like to draft in this spot.
There's not much of a question, but let's dick around for a little bit while we get to his name. Tyler Warren would be a great pick here. Will Johnson would be a fine pick here. I don't know if I'd give it an A, but maybe a B. Get Colston Loveland off this fucking screen. Sorry. I have nothing against the guy, but I don't see it. I just don't see it.
I just think he's wildly overvalued. I think he's good. I don't get it.
Okay, Jahdae Barron, love him. If he went at 11, I would have no problem with it. There is one obvious, clear answer here. A bit of a preview for all. This is the number 1 guy on my board overall. Overall, over Travis Hunter, it's Mykel Williams. That's who I would pick. Jake, do you want to fight me? You want to fight me right now?
No, I don't.
Get out a knife.
I don't.
Okay.
Because to me, I can't fathom any other selection. The only other alternative here is if you know somebody like desperately wants Tyler Warren or McMillan and you slide down a pick, like if you know for certain and you pick up an extra pick, but I would
Miami.
not risk it.
I wouldn't risk it. You have been given an all-time win in taking, again, Mykel Williams, my number 1 defensive end, my number 1 player.
It's so funny because some people hate Mykel Williams. They think
don't get it.
They think he's terrible, folks. So this is like a bigger picture thing. So like if you're gonna be an edge rusher, and again I make exceptions for this too, but if you're gonna be like the top edge rusher in the class, and you're Abdul Carter, and that's supposed to be the top edge rusher in the class, and you cannot set the edge, and you cannot use power, you're entirely a finesse player. That's a red flag to me. Like, I don't think you need to be the greatest power player in the world, but you need to have some. Every offensive tackle is like, if you want to go through me, you need to have some sort of foundation and power. So what people criticize Mykel for is a lack of production. Okay. And for some reason, people think his tape is bad. He's game wrecking. He's destroying edges. He's outrageously powerful. And he's playing like 4-eye and getting double teamed. And he's like collapsing the pocket consistently. And by the way, the idea that he's like not an effective pass rusher doesn't hold up on tape. Like
ludicrous.
Absolutely, he has stuff to clean up, but he's got a really strong swipe. He can get by you. His hands are so strong. And he's like one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen. So
But
What are we
other than
talking?
that,
Oh, by the way, was playing 60% with an ankle that he re-injured multiple times over the course of the season,
that's
and
right.
he's just anchoring and setting the edge like no one's ever. I can't do it, Dieter. It makes me feel insane. The tape
How,
is outrageously good.
how many times on this show, how many times in my life have I said that the other team will tell you who the best player on your team is? Every team that Georgia went up against, and by the way, not a fun job having to go up against the Georgia defense. Every single team that they, this is a team with Jalen Walker, who's already off this board. This is a team with, I think, nine, all 11 of their starters will get drafted. I think they'll have, is it nine drafted players this year on their defense
Might sound about right, and it's like kind of a down year.
for Georgia? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, every single opposing offensive coordinator said, "Oh, Michael Williams is the problem. We have to do everything in our power to stop him." And I just sent you two clips just before we went on, just for fun. One of which is Michael Williams beating the tackle, beating the guard, and then the tight end that was coming over for a crack block just getting absolutely destroyed as Quinn Ewers is then sacked. That was three
his
men in the
hands are
course of
so
2 seconds.
fast.
The next one was him winning so fast off the line that the Tennessee left tackle just tried to bear hug him. I mean, not even a
Couldn't.
remote. You're saying, oh, he was held. No, no, no. This was a like clear path violation foul in the NBA, flagrant one, and he couldn't
Yeah.
even stop him then.
He was literally, folks, like when you have like a cousin and they like chase you and try and tackle you.
Yes,
It's your family like Thanksgiving football game and your cousin tries to tackle you and they've got their hands,
he turkey bowled him.
around your legs and you're literally dragging them. That's what Michael Williams is doing to a left tackle at Tennessee.
Right.
And he's not even falling over a little bit. He's like fully just like laughing.
Nico, I will not try to pronounce his last name. By the way, NIL is doing great. He's just skipping practice because he's in contract negotiations like Brock Purdy. Um, but he just like ran into it too, which is always a
Oh
fun
yeah.
scene. Those were just two of roughly 100 clips I could show you of him being so much better. Meanwhile, Micah Parsons 2.0 here, Abdul Carter, just getting wrecked by Wyatt Millum in the game against West Virginia. But I
And by the
digress.
way, Mike Green, who I've crossed off my board because he admitted that he was accused of sexual assault, and that's part of the reason he left Georgia
Twice.
twice, two sexual assault allegations, and then said, "Yeah, well, they were never confirmed, but yes, that is why I left for Virginia."
Yeah.
You go, okay, well, I don't think you realize what you just said there.
Yeah.
He and Abdul Carter are the same exact size, and I do actually see Green use power at times. So just
Yes.
as a point of comparison. By the way, benched like crazy, like elite bench
Mhm.
from a guy that's the same size. Carter doesn't have that, and had shoulder surgery, and had a what's it called? Not a foot sprain, but he had a stress reaction in his foot
Oh,
that they're like,
that's
no,
a
it's fine.
broken foot. That's even better.
You're
Uh,
talking about drafting that guy 2 overall, and he can't use power, and he's recovering from shoulder surgery, and we're just gonna pretend like this guy who's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but with actually long arms to destroy you with, is just some random guy off the street who kinda sucks. I
so I
can't understand it.
I was preaching the gospel last night on Larry's stream. By the way, you get to do that next Thursday. Congratulations. And he was going in about how Shamar Stewart's so good, which of course I had a stroke. So Shamar Stewart had 1.5 sacks in each of his 3 years in college. Michael Williams, who is knocked for having a lack of production, had 14 sacks in college and had a double-digit sack season at one point and
Yep.
played again 60% on an ankle that was just constantly getting re-injured throughout the year as he was constantly being doubled and triple teamed.
Literally
And
playing defensive tackle at certain points, like straight up 3 tech.
move him everywhere. So the idea of, oh, we don't like his production. Oh, but Shamar Stewart is on your board in any
Who
way?
So people, I get it. You're going to compare him. This is in the draft guide. I go very deep on both these players and why Shamar Stewart is substantially lower because he's got no moves.
No
He is
No
power.
bag.
He is power and he's
He's good at that.
blind and I don't think he's an instinctual player who really gets it. I just
I
like
agree.
look like listen. Is he like a top 1 percentile athlete who would it shock me if he was a good NFL player? No. But if we're going off tape, if we're going off what we've seen, he's not a good football player. He's an
Right.
incredibly gifted athlete.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he'll figure out how to be a good football player when he's going up against the best athletes on the planet. Like that's the bet you're taking. And you know what? He's such a good athlete that someone should probably take that bet at the bottom of the first round.
Totally. And I wouldn't blame him. And I wouldn't blame him. But if we're gonna sit here and pretend like Michael Williams, Shamar Stewart, apples to apples, like look at the two guys play. Look at how teams prepare for them.
I cannot
By the way,
fathom it.
Shamar Stewart, not my favorite Texas A&M defensive end.
Same. Same. I'm with you, but I've been a scouring guy for a long time. How about we draft Michael Williams and get
Let's
on
draft
with this
Michael
thing?
Williams.
Okay, here we moving down the line. Um,
We're gonna go no trades
43.
here.
Yeah, no, we can't dick around with this anymore. So now, actually, a legitimate, interesting conversation to be had. Let me throw three names at you here. All of them went to Ohio State. Donovan Jackson, Travion Henderson, or Quinshawn Judkins. I think those are the three guys that you got to look at here. You can toss in a Toledo if you want to with Darius Alexander. Which one of those names sparks joy?
I think Donovan Jackson is the top guard in this class.
I think so too.
So I would have a hard time passing on him at that price. Although, like Travion is my number 2 running back,
Mm.
and like, but it is a deep. So here's the thing: it's a deep running back class. It's a little weaker at interior offensive line. If you're talking
Hear that?
about getting that sort of value,
The guy.
I would also consider Carson Schwezinger here. I don't like the
Ooh.
linebacker class, but Schwezinger could be. The thing is, I think Schwezinger is like a middle linebacker. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily. Granted, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world to play him at will, but I
I mean,
think
Will
linebacker.
Will for the 49ers, to be fair, is a lot more like Mike than in most teams because it's
True,
just
no
gap
question.
fill
That's
downhill. There,
not a
you know,
real substantial knock. Um, he's my number 1 linebacker, but it's also like
wow.
over
Okay.
Campbell because Campbell's got injury issues and can't disengage off a block. Listen, is Campbell going to be an awesome player? Probably,
Probably.
but he's also had a torn labrum,
Yeah.
so I prefer the guy that doesn't have that. Let's go with Donovan Jackson just because I feel
No, that's right.
very
That's the right
confident
pick.
he's going to be a great guard.
I'm with you. He's the number one guard. You need a guard. Don't overthink it. And look at this. Look at
Ooh,
how it falls for you here,
yep.
Jake. We both love Demetrius Knight, and he's as wide as he's a cube. He's really fun to watch. He's a killer. He's a Dre Greenlaw clone. I don't want to overthink this.
Go for it. Go for it. Here's the thing. Like Knight is a guy who's like I don't really know if he's got the coverage instinct to be a second rounder, but third round,
Totally.
this is what you want. He's the guy you want. I don't want to overthink this. I know we need defensive tackles. We will get some.
I want to well, let's talk about Joshua Farmer for a second. I don't think he's been mentioned on the show once. What is your
Not my
takeaway
guy.
on Joshua Farmer?
Not my guy at all. I think
Just
he
move
is.
too easy?
Uh, oh, you're saying he gets moved too easily.
Right. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so the problem with Joshua Farmer is I think he's, listen, awesome, awesome, awesome athlete. But he's like a physically gifted project who has inconsistent pad levels, constantly. Yeah, you're right. Constantly getting displaced in the run game makes him an easy target. I just see him getting turned around all the goddamn time. Drew
He's a
Kendall was
Jordan
like,
Elliott.
yeah, that's a great comp. That's a great comp. I like
He's
the
the saloon
athleticism.
door. Just
I him at 77. I have him as a 6th round grade. So
yeah. No, I really didn't like his tape, and I never quite understood why. There's a little bit more twitch, right? And so people are,
yeah,
oh, we can teach him, and it's like you don't think that. I know Florida State had a
yeah.
bad year, but you don't think that they know how to teach. Like
I
you don't
like
think
the
they
other
understand.
I like the other defensive tackle better at Florida State, who's right next to him.
Yeah,
So
I'll give you that. I don't know his name because I don't know
neither
anybody's
do
name.
I.
Uh,
Um,
we're neither here nor there. Ferguson and Mukuba are at 91 and 92 at the bottom of our screen here. They're probably going to be off the board. So it was nice knowing you guys, two of our favorite players in this draft. But Demetrius Knight, you are a San Francisco 49er. And
getting
we move
strong.
on.
We're getting stronger here.
I'm feeling great about it. Okay, here we
Makuba
go.
just went.
Yeah, and let's just see what we have already. Just a recap real fast. We have Williams, we have Jackson, we have Knight. The spine is looking strong. We
Correct.
probably need to go defensive tackle if something like that is available.
To me,
You
it's
don't have to
defensive
force
tackle
it.
or corner.
Well, we have a great corner
I
option in
know.
Jacob Parrish, one of my
I love
favorites.
him. Let's see what we got at defensive tackle here.
There is not much. I am not a
That's
Ty
not true.
Robinson fan.
You're
Oh,
wrong.
well, hello,
Yep.
hello,
CJ
hello.
West, way undervalued here. Um,
Pull the trigger.
what's our next pick? We're at 100 right now, and we got 113.
That's a good question. 113, 112. Yeah, something to that effect. So we're
Yeah.
moving. We're
Okay, so
moving
we got
pretty
100
fast.
and
Yeah,
then
113.
113. Okay, so do me a favor
I
and
think we can pull that off. I think.
do me a favor and
Yeah.
pull up defensive tackle and just see who we still have available. Okay, so we got Broughton and CJ West. One of them are going to be there for us. I think we take Jacob Parrish. Um,
Yeah,
what do
I
you
think
think
that's
of
the
that?
right play.
Do you think he's more of a nickel? I mean, if he is a nickel,
No,
then you move Lenore
no.
outside. So
So I have the same argument with Parrish as I do with Barron. Just because he can tackle doesn't mean he has to play on the inside. Just because everyone else sucks at tackling doesn't mean that you have to play him on the inside. A good
yeah,
team, all of their corners and defensive backs tackle. The problem is they don't, and so everyone's like, "Oh, this is the only guy who can tackle. We got to play him
yeah.
inside." Parrish is certainly more limited than Barron in terms of
Yeah.
athleticism, but he's a cover three corner.
So what I would say is I have Broughton and CJ West rated higher than Parrish,
Hmm.
but I do think both of those guys at this stage in the draft, the way it's panning out, look likelier to be there. And worst case, Aeneas Peebles is there. So we've got three guys we really like within the next 13 picks. Corner, I feel less comfortable with. And
Yeah, you need to get after it sooner rather than later. It really
I
falls
would
off.
take Parrish here, and then I'd go
Yeah.
for a defensive tackle next.
I'm with you. Okay, let's see how that plays out. Let's see if we have gamed it. Oh, look at that! It played right into our hands. We can take West here. So, I mean, unless you're feeling some sort of a way about Torrey Horton.
No, 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 no. I mean,
No,
in
okay.
my grades, like I have Broughton, I think above West, but those guys are like basically on the same plane. And I love CJ West, so I would have literally
Take
zero
CJ,
problem with it.
and so it is done. It's over. Okay, so now what do we still need? Let's go
Ooh,
back to our picks here because I think we are sitting real pretty with. We're going
we
to
are
need another
drafting a
defense.
running back. We're drafting a running back, is what we're doing.
I think that's right, just with the way the board is going. We can still go for tackle. We can still go for defensive tackle, offensive tackle. Running back is obviously a very wide receiver is a spot we can go as well. And just looking at the board here, it's really good, really good. The running back situation fell to us in a big time way.
Yeah,
RJ Harvey on the board, DJ Giddens on the board, Damian Martinez on the board, though I think that's overvalued. I think he's overhyped right now. Devin
yep,
Neal, who's, just a solid workman like Devin Neal is on the board. Jordan James, who I hate, is on the board.
yep.
Ollie Gordon, who outside of last year, well, I mean, he was considered a Heisman contender going into the season. That didn't really work
He's
out.
so large and not good.
And then Brashard Smith, who's a guy who I think it's fair to have some buzz about. He's not my personal cup of tea, but I can buy into what he's selling at this juncture in
Yeah,
the draft. It comes down to RJ or DJ for me. Where
me
would
too.
you lean?
I would lean Giddens because Giddens, I think, is a bigger prospect who is more polished as like a true craft, running back craft. But I think I literally have Harvey right behind him. I think those
Yes.
guys are 5 and 6 on my board. Either one of those is fine. Harvey is more of like a true home run hitter, but Giddens also has like 4.4 speed. So I would
Right.
go Giddens. I would go Giddens. I just trust him more.
I will say this that I prefer Giddens. I see the more immediate value in a Harvey, to be fair, because you can use him as a gadget player almost immediately, and and you can use him as a kick and a punt returner.
Yeah,
So there's something
listen,
there.
totally fair.
I would like. I think we go with Harvey. I think
Take
Harvey
Harvey.
helps this
Take
team.
Harvey. Take Harvey. I
It's
get
kind
that.
of wild because I'm big DJ Giddens guy, and he's sitting right there for me. But this is interesting. We're doing this live, and
Yeah.
frankly, I think Harvey's the play here because he makes your team better
Yeah.
in 25.
I think that's fair.
Okay, and we're right back on the board. So now we're in some weird spots. Let's take again
Mm.
a look. So we can still go wide receiver, defensive tackle. Always can use more. Offensive tackle would be a viable play here. Safety, if somebody's hanging out, would be a fun play. Safety seems like it's going to be the pick or the position that kind of gets left out to dry. None of these names
I
do
like
much for
Sebastian
me.
Castro in this spot. It's listen, he didn't test crazy well, but I think he's a great player, really
Yeah,
smart dude. The athleticism's
I
a,
would
a
I would
question,
rather
but
have Dan Jackson much later. Dan Jackson's one of
I
my
don't
guys.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Okay, let's see what we got at wide receiver. I mean, Dante Thornton is a bad wide receiver, but he
Right.
fast as fuck, boy.
He is a
Um,
roulette wheel spin.
I don't think that this team is in a position to do it, though. I would sure defend their right to spin that wheel. The guy that I want to talk about real fast, and I hope that we can come back and get him because it's too early now. But Elijah Badger, uh, there's something very special about him. There's something that speaks to me in ways that these other wide receivers, and he's not even the highest rated guy from Florida on this board, but I like Isaac Tesla. I think that he's an underrated player. He's not my favorite Arkansas receiver. I think DK is fine. He's not even close to my favorite Florida receiver. I think Elijah Badger was done hard done by bad quarterback play. Once Langway came in at Florida, he came to another level. He knows the full route tree. He's crafty. Think about Think about what Tyler Lockett was able to do forever
Hmm.
for the Seahawks. That's what Elijah Badger, that's how he speaks to me. And a lot of the testing scores are almost the exact same.
Can
Really
you do
sure
me a
hands.
favor and scroll down a little bit more on this list beyond where we're at? Just curious. We both like Jackson Meeks. I think he's wildly undervalued there. Andrew
308 is wild.
Armstrong. Andrew
Andrew
Armstrong, I
Armstrong,
don't understand why he's as far as he is and why people are sleeping on him.
it just led the SEC in both receptions and yards last year with a horrible quarterback, but whatever. Silas Bolden, I can't believe he's that far down. Moose Muhammad the third is a viable option as an NFL guy. And ultimately, we're just taking lottery tickets here. Ricky White is my Bo Melton of the draft, which is
I
very
would I
high
would
praise
say
if you know anything
Armstrong
about
is
me.
not even that much of a lottery ticket. But I wouldn't take him here.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little tight in the hips, but I don't give a shit. All he did was
He's
get
g-
open and catch
he's
everything.
he's going to be an awesome rotational receiver.
Totally. And you can actually play him at X, and that's
Yeah.
a real issue. There's Nick Nash, who I don't want to take anything off of Nick Nash. All he did was produce for San Jose State.
Yeah.
All he did was make big time catches. He doesn't have the athletic traits. He doesn't have any of these things. But he was a gamer and he caught a ton of footballs. Nick Nash is somebody that everyone's like, oh, we can play him as the X. We can play him as the X. Well, why can't you do that with the guy who led the SEC in receiving?
And why is
You
Nick
know,
Nash always playing out of the slot if you can play him at the X?
That's a great point. That's a great point. I also like Antoine Wells here. So I feel like we're
Yeah.
in a good position with wide receiver.
For
So I
later.
want to
Yeah.
go. I want to go to offensive tackle and see what we got going on there. And this is probably a stretch for almost any of these guys at this point.
What pick are
I'm
we at
looking at.
again?
That's a great question there, Jake. Let's take a look. We are at 147. We are not moving very fast.
No, we're not.
And so um, this is a tough spot. This is a tough spot right here. I would almost go towards a redundancy than
Just
draft. I mean,
scroll down on the list a little bit more.
well, how about this? How about we take a look at some of the defensive tackles that are still on the board because you're going to need to come back.
Ooh. I
And
love
yeah, go
Ty
ahead.
Hamilton. I am a huge fan of Ty Hamilton. I think he's wildly underappreciated. He was like a monster at Ohio State. That was just
He was.
like I think Tyleek because he's larger, right? Ty Hamilton does have shorter arms, but he is incredible power. Like he was really a problem for some defenses or for some offensive lines to account for, and he's an
Yes,
elite athlete. By the way, the brother of Davon Hamilton. So if you
that matters to me.
care about that sort of thing, I
Yep.
think. He just beat. I literally watched him beat every single Texas offensive lineman, and Texas was like arguably the best offensive line in the country.
Yep.
Raw power at the point of attack, strong hands, athleticism to hold a gap and disengage. I really like Ty Hamilton.
He's a top 150 for you?
Off the top of my head, yes.
Then we take him. I just took him. It's done. Okay, and we're right back on the board. So we are still now facing a deep
Holland Pierce
existential crisis.
situation.
I don't think it's a Holland Pierce situation. Where are we at with? Hold on, we got to take a look at the picks again. We don't. We just took a running back, so this takes my guy Trevor Etienne off the board. We don't need a corner. Takes Kobe Bryant off the board. We don't need a linebacker. Takes Cody Simon off the board, though I do think that's a bit of overvalue. Um, man, man,
Andre
Rondé
Gadsden.
too early. He can't block. Where are
Yeah,
we at
what
with
is the
tight
tight end
ends?
situation?
Dyer. I mean Connors. We can go Connors here.
I would take Jalen Conyers. I think he's
Conyers. Sorry.
being wildly undervalued
Yeah.
because Texas Tech didn't use him that much. I get it. I get it. But when you realize how athletic he is and that he's like one of the best blockers by far in the class, and he's extremely athletic and can move in the open field, like, what are we doing? This is a
Yeah.
terrible tight end class. What are we
Well, it's
doing?
brutal. It's
I would
brutal.
take
I can
Conyers.
see. I can see it with him. There's only 3 guys on this entire list that I like.
Luke
Jesus Christ.
Lachey broke my brain, and you'll see it in the draft guide. You'll see when I get to Luke Lachey where I snap. So
Jalen Connors, come on down. Conyers. I'll get it right at some point, or
it's
not,
okay.
because it's
It's
fine.
it's more on brand if you don't.
Yeah, at this point. Okay, again, one more time, seeing what we have here as we pick in the 200s. We have Conyers. Hey now, Hamilton, Harvey, West, Parrish, Knight, Jackson, Williams. I'm thinking offensive tackle would be a nice place to look.
Yeah, I
Not
think
necessarily go, but to look.
offensive tackle, wide receiver, I think have to be
Yeah.
considered
Okay.
here.
Let's take a nice long gaze at all of the options available to us. And again, we're picking again really fast. So I think we have to look for the drop off. And we've already reached it on offensive tackle. It is slim
Oh
pickings, my friend.
no, that's a straight up Crenshaw Dixon. I would say in the 7th round.
Well, that's more or less where we're at, buddy.
To me, it's like he's a little bit like a Jalen Moore type.
I mean,
Just a guy that you're like, eh.
look at that. Like my man Brandon George went off it. This is a good mock drafter. Yeah, it is. Okay. Let's see. Who would be the most high ceiling? This is dire.
Yeah. I don't
Branson
like
Taylor out
Isapol
of
very
Pitt.
much.
Isapo.
I don't like him.
There's a very cancelable joke I could do off of Isapo.
Let's move on.
I will. Let's go to wide receivers. I like Antoine Wells a whole lot, but we got really good options here. Let's see. What do we have at safety? I think we need to come back to safety. There's Dan.
Take
Should we take
Dan
Dan?
Jackson. Take Dan.
Okay. Can you tell the people why we took Dan?
Because Dan Jackson was a starter at Georgia, played, 5 years there,
Yeah.
and just made the right play, like, all the time, and
Yeah.
doesn't really care about his well-being. Like, John Lynch is gonna be like, "It's me," you know?
Me. Yeah.
Like, he just throws himself out there. I think he's, like, a steal in round 7. I think he's a really good player.
I think we're just gonna have to eat it on OTs. I think we lost. I think we lost with tackles. And
Yeah.
that's fine.
Ooh.
I want to take a look at edge rushers because you can never have too many.
I would take Tyler Batty.
Okay.
He is a
Just as
guy,
big thick boy.
big dude, pretty athletic.
6'5", 275 with a 4.78. That's pretty good. RAS at
Yeah.
88.
He can set an edge, and even if that's all he does, like, remember the edge rushers you've drafted that have no utility whatsoever? This is a guy with day 1 utility and athletic upside. I would take him.
Yeah, that was a hell of a pitch there, buddy. That was really good.
You can read more in the draft guide.
There you go. There you go. What
Take
do
a
we
wide
still need?
receiver here to
I
end.
mean, yeah, just for shits and grins. Yeah, that makes sense.
I
Okay.
think if our boy Jackson Meeks is here,
Oh, that's too much. That's too much. When we got good options available above Jackson Meeks. Are you that high on Meeks?
I guess there's Ricky White. Ricky White's
I like all 3 of the Colorado wide receivers more than I like Meeks. I mean, Meeks is great in the sense of like I know what he is. There's no ambiguity about Meeks, which is cool. Like if you're in the
You
seventh
gave
round,
him
it's
your seal of approval.
I did. I like Jackson Meeks a lot. I'm banging the table for him. But the point is, I can also not use a draft pick on him and just bring him in as an undrafted free agent at this ranking. If this is how it's going, would I mind at all if they took him in the seventh round? Hell no. Do I think they should when you have Wester, White, Horn, Felton?
Yeah.
No,
The yeah.
I'm not a big Lambert Smith guy, but you could justify it. I mean, this is you want to talk about just a bottom heavy wide receiver draft.
You know
Holy
who
crap.
we really should take Andrew Armstrong.
Principle.
That he's a good player, yeah.
No, I'm just on the principle of we're the only people who know he exists outside of the Armstrong family and former Arkansas coaches.
The fact that he was the SEC's leading receiver, that he's got size, that he's got athleticism, that he's a big dude who can take a shot after the
Yeah.
catch, who's like got some route craft, got some intelligence, and he can block for you. Like,
Yeah, he's a mean blocker. He's a mean blocker.
I'm taking him, man.
It's,
I'd kind of
it's just
like
funny. I kind of like Daquan Felt.
I do too. I do too. He's
Am I confusing him with a different Virginia Tech wide receiver though? Am I confusing him
there's
with Lane?
Lane's the littler one. Felton is the deep threat, and
Felton's the big one who's gonna block his ass off.
yeah, who
I like him. Yeah.
I didn't like Lane very much, despite having crazy testing scores. Granted,
Yeah,
Virginia Tech, tough offense to watch.
very tough.
Aside
Oh,
from
you wanna
Bashal
talk about
Tutton.
bad quarterback play. Also, ugly uniforms. Like, just be
Yeah.
classic, Virginia Tech. You can't pull off this new crap. You're in Blacksburg, Virginia. They don't even have the internet there. Okay, Andrew Armstrong, come on down.
Yep. And that's our
And
draft.
there's the draft. I don't care what the grade is. I feel fantastic about this.
Let's just recap here. We got Michael Williams, stud.
At 11.
Donovan
At 11?
Donovan Jackson, who I
At
just feel
43?
astoundingly good about as being a
So
day
good.
one starter left guard. We have
So good.
Demetrius Knight, who has the murder in his eyes. He has athleticism. Does he need some work in coverage? Sure, but it's not
Who
that
doesn't?
bad, right?
Who doesn't?
He's going to start for you day one next to
Yes,
Fred
he is.
Warner.
He's better than D.
Jacob
Winters today.
Parrish, probably going to start for you day one.
Mm-hmm.
Is he nickel? Is he outside? They'll probably waste some of his time testing him out at nickel, so he probably won't start day one because they'll do the stupid thing they did with Renardo Green, where they went, "Oh, is he a nickel?" No, he's an outside corner.
It's called an inverse Diamador Lenore, where they're like, what if we don't Diamador Lenore? They're like, oh, we'll never play him at the position he's best at. And with Renardo Green, they're like, what if we tried him at safety and at nickel? And it's like, or why don't you just give him the job that he's good at? He's good at those other things, but like just give him that job.
We have an extra corner, so like we should waste his time. No.
Yeah, let's
Stop
get
that.
some more Rock Ya-Sin snaps in here.
Then we get CJ West, who's just beautiful specimen. I think undervalued here. Outstanding player. Just feel so confident about him. Like real problem for offenses to hold up against. And you just watch him in the Shrine Bowl, and he's whooping ass, dude. He's destroying people.
One of the things about CJ West is he doesn't have this elite athleticism, right? And you're kind of looking for. Well, no. I'm just saying like elite, to be get into a semantic argument. Like he does not have crazy twitch or anything. What he does do though is have a really keen understanding of angles. He like wins with 2 to 3 degrees and just knows where to hit you to mess your shit up. He's a really smart player. I don't know if that's tape study or if he just intuitively knows it, but there's some real deftness to his game that cannot be taught. To get a guy like that at 113, like you could never, if he's a bust, you will never once regret taking him at 113. You'll just be like, that didn't work out. I don't know how it didn't work out, but it didn't work. Like CJ West is the man. He's my favorite player in this draft. My favorite player.
Wow.
I wouldn't take him like one overall, but like, yeah, dollars to cents, my favorite player in this draft. And I like 40.
I have him as my 7th overall defensive tackle ahead of Alfred Collins. So
I have him as my 4th.
He had an elite 40, elite vertical, really good bench. So yeah.
I don't think he's at 113 for what it's worth.
No, I don't.
Okay. We went with RJ Harvey on a Dieter gut feel. I pulled a Kyle and I totally panicked and I took a running back. That's what happened there. Ty Hamilton, who you loved.
Yeah.
And you sold me Sold me on it.
Getting him in a middle late round as a guy who's an outrageous athletic specimen at an elite program that won the national championship, and he's starting there.
Yeah.
Like
Come on now.
he's an awesome player.
Jalen Conyers. Look at me. I'm doing it again. Conyers, the tight end out of Texas Tech. Terrible tight end class. One of the few guys that you and I both agree is good.
One
Or
of
at
two
least,
tight ends I actually like.
yeah. Dan Jackson, safety out of Georgia. Listen, Dan Jackson looks like he should do your taxes, right? The accountant 3, Dan Jackson. But Kirby Smart seems to think that this guy is the absolute truth because they have yeah, I mean, because he is, but like Georgia has a first round viable safety on their roster in Malachi Starks. Dan Jackson was the guy actually doing all of the organization, all of the structuring, and calling it out and being the missile, right? He was the guy who was in the thick of it, playing effectively linebacker. Dan Jackson was the one with the responsibility between the two of them. It's not to take anything away from Starks. I think he's a wonderful player, but clearly at safety, there's something more than just athleticism. You have to have the recognition. You have to have the kill. Dan Jackson has it, man. And at 227, these are picks that can get cut the first day of training camp and no one would bat an eye. Like, I'm bringing this guy in because you're not going to be able to cut him. You're just not going to be able to cut him.
He's going to be like the best special teamer of all time.
He's going to be awesome. He's your Matthew Slater.
Dude, a great comparison. He's going to be one of those guys that coaches are like, Dan Jackson, man.
Dan Jackson. Jackson's probably going to be so loved by coaches it will become sort of a bit, and then he'll be like overrated.
Like Ross Dwelly.
Kinda.
Remember when the 49ers said Ross Dwelly was one of their best players?
And then they won 6 games.
It's a real quote.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a tough scene.
And we all went, no, he's not.
Are you familiar with your own roster?
Yeah.
Tyler Batty out of BYU, edge setter. Edge
setter with athleticism.
Slide him inside if you need to. Let's have a little fun. Here's your Yetur Gross-Matos replacement. And then Andrew Armstrong, a little bit off the board, actually way off the board. But we love Andrew Armstrong.
Yeah, but they're all off the board at this point.
Oh, yeah. This is after Conyers. It's like, who do you like? Frankly, after pick, I think it was pick 135 is when you make less than $1 million a year. After that, have at it, whomever you want, because you're not even making the top 51.
Dieter, let me just say, this is the best draft we've done.
I agree. I mean, it helps to start off with my number 1 player at number 11.
Yeah, I have him number 2 behind,
I mean,
from Colorado.
There's a little bit of a bit there as it pertains with Hunter. Like, I just don't. There's no stain.
You just want to be contrarian.
Kinda. I want to express my, I've loved other women before. I love my wife the most. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just need to shout it from the top of a mountain. And putting him at number 2, just wouldn't be fair because I don't feel any way about Travis Hunter. I feel some sort of way when I watch Michael Williams play football. Travis Hunter, you're like, I'm just kicking everybody. He's great. He's a great football player. And he's a one of one. I don't hold that against him. I'm not trying to throw any stain on his game. I just think that Michael Williams it is being a little bit contrarian because he is so obviously, to me, the number 1 defensive end in this class. And all I hear is hate about him. And it's like, why are people out here trying to bring this dude down? What did he do to them?
No idea. Do we want to show people, what our draft guide, will say about Michael Williams?
Well, I think we're going to do that in the next episode.
That's right.
Okay. That's a mock draft. We're done with them now. Congratulations, Jake. We're over. Can you tell the people where they can get all of that insight that we just provided for a select number of players in a written form for a great deal more number of players?
Go to our YouTube channel, which you are already on. Congratulations. You've made it this far. Then you're going to click join. Apparently on mobile, it's like a pain in the ass if you have an iPhone. Sorry about that. Not sure what to do. Might have to go to desktop. That's YouTube's fault. Go in, become an official sicko. And then on April 14th, you will get access. That's it.
We're really looking forward to giving it to you. Jake is looking forward to going.
Oh, we're going to give it to you. All right. Bye.
And we'll leave you at that. Bye.